This reflection is titled, Once That Genie is Out of the Bottle. It must stop. Using violence, domestic violence, and overt sex to sell what is considered music is part of the reason why guns are used to solve problems today, why women are poorly treated in the ages of 15 to 35, and why physical violence is accepted as a way of life, and domestic battery is starting in middle school as normal. When the music you sing along with advocates beating and hitting your romantic partners to bring them in line, it decreases your resistance to these acts. The social condemnation of the behavior and the actual behavior then increases. When TV shows and video games watched show the women bruised, bloodied, acting subservient and timid, the males strutting around and threatening with a fist or hand upraised, and his friends congratulating him on having, quote, such a well-trained bitch. Is it any surprise that the young men mimic these exact words and actions? When TV show after TV show, and even animated so-called comedy shows, have patterns of language that are so highly abusive and disrespectful of all persons, but especially within the core family, the mother to the children, the mother and father to each other, and children to each other, and, after the first season, the children, especially to their mother, that this then becomes the language and speech pattern of this country. No one ever again speaks respect to authority after this happened. In each case above, violence, battery, rape, language and speech patterns that are abusive at their heart and disrespectful at a minimum. Once that genie is released, it can never be put back away. Once the population has started down that path of deterioration and degradation, it can't just stop and turn back to being respectful, non-violent, non-sexual, and treating women as equals. Because with the male beast and the developing male brain, once their brain is exposed to any slightly higher amount of testosterone, it wants more. And the spigot, once opened, continues to open more. And violence, once started, continues to increase. If they are fed a constant diet of images of sexual and domestic violence, their brain won't know how to respond but with this. For there are no competing images, no competing values of a loving, happy family living together, with dad coming home and honoring mom each day, of the kids each showing honor and respect to their parents. There is nothing competing with these images but a vacuum. Before you say it doesn't matter, look around. Joking, singing, rapping, and filming about domestic violence and sexual battery. It was a goof, Beyoncé said in the press release when asked about the rumor of domestic assault and rape with the creation of Lemonade. You don't joke or goof about domestic violence and rape. That this person did, and no one said a word, shows how far the society has slipped down the ramp, how accepting of these images and behaviors society has become. Have some bloody values, people. I'm not some American prude about sex. I am quite liberal compared to other Americans about visual sexual imagery from living abroad. But it is the violence against women in the words and the images that must change and end. Sex has its place in a loving relationship, But the instant a hand is raised, an instant the fist is formed, there is no longer love but only control. And dictate any part of another's life, and there's no longer a relationship. It is time to care how things look, how things seem, and to always call when you hear or suspect violence. Not acting is a sinful act of omission, and it is a sin against God. And it is not right. You are violating another woman by not calling. In 1992-93, I started working first for 9 school districts in Minnesota, teaching how domestic violence permeated over then 60% of most popular TV programs and 90% of rock, hip-hop, rap music. I had videos of examples. It expanded nationally and then was converted to business use. This was instigated when I learned that the 8 junior women that I was mentoring were all being abused by their boyfriends, or had been by past boyfriends, and 2 showed up at a meeting with black eyes from a party the night before. I learned that a boy, 17 years old, 6'6", 250, had picked Sue up by her throat and held her above his head, and she was no small thing. And, drunk off his ass, accused her of telling his girlfriend to leave him at the party for again getting drunk. He then threw her through a wall. This after having beaten his girlfriend Marion. They both told their parents that they'd bumped heads. But in conversation I learned that this was so common an occurrence that they thought nothing of it. "That's just Nate," they both said to me. I immediately went to the school's principal and full counseling staff. Those fools! They were aware, but had done nothing. They didn't know the depth and the length that it went. I forced them to call the school liaison officer, and I filed charges of assault against Nate on behalf of both Sue and Marion. Because they were minors, I could do that. Both came from class and made statements. Oh, they were rageful at me. The officer, at my demand, took them to the morgue to view the bodies of 2 17-year-olds who had been beaten to death by their boyfriend over the weekend. One with a broken neck from having been picked up by the neck as Sue had been. Oh, she looked at me with huge eyes, finally starting to get what I had been saying. I still worked at the morgue then. That's how I knew those girls were there. The other was unrecognizable from the beating, as Marion would have been if Nate hadn't stopped because he had to throw up from being drunk. Their class was the first I spoke to, at the school from which I'd graduated from a decade earlier. Then other district schools wanted it. Then suddenly I had a company. From this month of sessions, we learned over 80% of the relationships in this high school and the middle schools. They had physical incidents of domestic violence. 11 and 12-year-old children abusing their girlfriends exactly as they'd seen Dad do to Mum, or Big Brother do to get his girlfriend to do him, or in the video, or on TV. I then started a series of interpersonal violence reduction education sessions in the schools and for businesses. Schools were 4 one-hour sessions, but with required parental involvement for 2 hours. Everyone learned appropriate communication in relationships, friendships, and in class and at work. Role-playing reinforced it, and then stilted conversations as they learned. Adults stilted as we tried desperately to listen to the students. First session started with a brief introduction that, quote, This is a program to teach what not to do in relationships, friendships, and behavior towards any other human at any time. Lots of laughing as the video started, with verbal abuse and put-downs from Roseanne, the very worst show ever to be put on television, and the dehumanizing of The Simpsons, the physical violence in the guise of action on multiple Fox and cable shows, rap music videos, cheering on rape, encouraging murder, mainstream hip-hop, with humans forever reduced to the titles and no longer a human being but a baby mama. Gradually the laughter died out and the room was silent when the presentation ended with the video of The Thunder Rolls by Garth Brooks. If you're unfamiliar with it, Google it and watch it. Quote, "You just witnessed the most intense 47 minutes of violent, disrespectful behavior one human can inflict upon another, especially in every of the relationships demonstrated. The people speaking, swearing at, disrespecting, insulting, hitting, beating, shooting, and raping the other says they love the one they are harming. Imagine if this is how they express love. How do they express hate? You all mimic this behavior in the ways this stops today, now. No more will any of you be spit upon, sworn at, told you're ugly, fat, or stupid, told you're should not be alive, or anything similar. No more will you be hit, kicked at, or hurt. No more will you be harmed in any way by any person from this school, or at home, or at work, or on the street. No more will you be forced to have sex." Sounds of crying were in the darkened room. Here is the dedicated phone line of a team of special officers, different for each school, so we could track it, who will respond to your call here at school or at home or anywhere in the district, or call 911 and say code safety, and you will have a squad within 3 minutes. If you need medical help, tell them on the call, and they will arrive at the same time, quietly. No lights and sirens unless you say light it up. They will come quiet in case you are slipping away from your abuser. All who have hurt you will be arrested, as Nate was arrested this morning for his assault, causing gross bodily harm on the 2 women, and nearly killing one of them. We will meet again next week with the lights on to talk about it again. If you want to talk before that, I am here with the counselors all week long, before and after hours. Now think about what I've said. No more. Of the 727 English-speaking students, 543 met privately and reported abuse at home. And this in the most affluent school in the district. Domestic violence happens in every house, happens in every socioeconomic status, happens everywhere, and it will only stop when we make it stop. When we stop watching this crap on television, and we make our children stop listening to rap music, and make them respect each other and themselves. Make it stop today.